I learned a ton about mindset. I'll share some of that stuff with you. My favorite part of all of it was Brian Buffini's topic. It was called the flying gas can, and that'll probably be one of the last topics we talk about today. There'll be parts of today where I'll ask you to maybe limit your distractions and slow your mind down a little bit, because some of this stuff is just for you as individuals. And as you flip through, hopefully not too soon, as you flip through the handout, you'll see that there's some stuff that requires you to give your business some thought, your lifestyle some thought, and your future goals some thought. Thanks, Labs. If we do this thing the right way, my goal is to have you walking out of here feeling pretty juiced up with maybe just a little bit more clarity than you had when you walked in. Labs, if you will, like anybody that jumps in, will you get them straight? Okay. Everybody knows Lavender. I'm never responsible for how this stuff looks. She's always responsible for it, deserves total credit. And she'll be kind of partnering with us today. It's Uncle Kevin.
Ready? Want me to click?
Yeah. So I'll tell you a story about when we got there. So I didn't arrive on time, shocker. But the first speaker, other than Brian Buffini, that I heard was Will Guidara. Has anybody ever heard of Will before? Okay. He wrote a book called Uncommon Hospitality, but his claim to fame is he's the owner of 11 Madison Park. It's a restaurant in New York that went from number 50 on the top restaurants in the world list to number 1. He tells a story about feeling like they had their systems dialed in and the staff was running in the same direction, and they gave a good restaurant experience. And that's what got them to number 50 in the world, which, like, let's be real, if you're number 50 at anything in the world, you're pretty damn good, you know? The way that the restaurant Oscars work, that's kind of what he called them, is only the top 50 are invited. So everybody knows that they won somewhere in the top 50, but nobody knows where they placed. So when you go to this event, if there's one place that you don't want to be, one spot you don't want to come in, what would the spot be? 50. Number 50, right? Because in theory, you're like the loser among the group, even though you're among the best in the world. So they get there, they're partying, feeling good, and they announce number 50, and number 50 is 11 Madison Avenue. And he says, literally, like they have him on camera, essentially being like, fuck. Heads down, like not happy. And I think the guy that ends up winning like number 1, 2, or 3 comes to him after, and he was like, looked pretty stoked about that award, man. He's like, well, we're happy with number 50, but we don't understand why we didn't do better. And he was like, hey, have you thought about your customer experience? Have you thought about how you impact your customers? And as we all do, he defended himself, right? Like, we've got good systems. We've got the best staff in New York. Like, we hear it time and time again. He's like, yeah, but are you listening to your clients? Are you listening to the things they're saying? Are you listening to the things that they're not saying? The things that they're saying maybe more indirectly. And I'll share a couple of stories with you. But first things first, hospitality is today's number 1 leadership skill, especially with what we do. According to Salesforce, 88% of customers say the experience a company provides is as important as its product or service. So what we provide is very important, but how we provide it is equally or more important. Gangsta. Providing uncommon hospitality gives them stories to tell about us. And man, I will beat social media to death, and I probably shouldn't, because there's certainly a place for it. But think about an Instagram story. An Instagram story, at least in my stalking and reviewing, it's rarely about others. It's mostly a story about us, or something we're going through, or something in our lives. In our business, it's way more effective to have them telling stories about you. The road from 50 to 1, though, encompasses a few stories, and I'll try to share those stories with you. But the first is the form of a question. When you think about Five Guys, burgers and fries, show of hands, who's been to Five Guys before? Yay, good stuff. Way better than if like one person raised their hand. Five Guys Burgers and Fries is different in my opinion in a couple of ways, but there's one key difference. If you go to Five Guys and you go to McDonald's, what is different about the experience? Money. Touche, yeah. Five Guys is way more expensive than McDonald's.
Right when you walk in, they got peanuts.
They got peanuts. That's the key difference. And you're like, well, peanuts, like these peanuts are stale, they suck, whatever it is. Doesn't matter because they recognize that their process takes a little longer than McDonald's. They're not an instant gratification fast food joint. They make your burger right there. The fries are always coming out hot, right? And while you're standing in line getting semi-pissed off because it's taking a little bit longer, they felt like it would be smart to give you something to do, right? Uncommon hospitality, pretty slick. The hot dog story, and I'll try not to butcher this. At 11 Madison Park, he encourages his wait staff to keep their ears open. Almost like eavesdropping on people without people realizing that they're doing it, right? Pro tip, you can do this with your clients all day long. You just need to know when to do it and you need to be physically with them to do it. So as the story goes, had some people, high-end family, they flew in from Europe. They did like the full New York City experience. And the wait staff overheard them saying, what did they say? That they did everything except experiencing a real New York City hot dog. So they're at literally like a 4-star Michelin restaurant talking about a cart hot dog, outside. The wait staff kind of alerted Will to this. He recognized an impact point. So Will, the owner, manager, whatever his title is of the restaurant, literally goes out to a hot dog vendor, pays $2 for a New York City hot dog, has his waiter deliver the hot dog to the table. The people go crazy. First off, right, because I didn't even think you heard me. Second, it was important enough for us to talk about. And third, you acted on something that we didn't even think that you needed to. He said that couple alone has probably referred $15,000 worth of, we would call it closed business, right? But like tabs, whatever you say in the restaurant business. The lesson there, right? A $2 gesture created a more memorable moment than every course of their $400 meal. The lesson is that small, unexpected gestures can make the deepest emotional impact, and that's our business. The wedding reception story, I believe to be better than the hot dog story. There was a couple that came into his restaurant. They had reservations. They came there, and this essentially was their wedding dinner. They opted to cancel their wedding because bride's parents are fighting about what they want. Groom's parents are fighting about what they want. Maybe your wedding went the same way. Mine certainly did. So what they did was they were like, F all of you guys. We're going down to City Hall. We're going to do our thing. And this is where we'll have our wedding dinner, our reception, just the two of us. They weren't unhappy about that. The couple was not unhappy. They weren't grieving or complaining or anything like that. But the waitstaff recognized the need. So they kind of like asked some questions. They ended up finding out what the first song was going to be. And then they went to Will and were like, hey, we got an idea. Will listened to him and he said he slowed their meal down without them knowing it, to a point where he got most everybody out of the restaurant. He told the clients that the wait staff was having a meeting upstairs. Like, we debrief every day. They're just upstairs. I know it's a lot emptier, sorry, type of thing. Well, before they wrapped up, he was like, hey, y'all come upstairs for a minute. The guys just wanted to say something to you. Well, in one of their reception rooms, they had essentially got the wedding song, kind of like on the loudspeaker. They went across the street. He got some champagne flutes from Tiffany's. And he invited them upstairs and said, hey, we heard you. It sounded like this is what you want. The next couple of hours are just about you guys. And literally in his restaurant, unprompted, he gave them a wedding reception. The impact of these things, they occupy mind space for a long, long, long time. But the big thing is that we've got to learn to hear what people are saying past the obvious. Find out what they need past the obvious, right? And I guess I got ahead of myself. So We've got to isolate what our clients want. I call that identifying the hospitality points in a real estate transaction. And then we've got to elevate our services and systems. You've got to take notice of what your clients say, what they say they need, what they say they like, what they say they want. All of it matters, and you're just banking this information. But to elevate your systems, the big thing is sometimes we need to slow down to speed up. So in terms of how do you apply these stories to real estate, right? Like your hot dog moment, find your high impact, low cost surprise for your clients. Your wedding reception moment, create emotional anchors at milestones, right? Closing is a milestone in a real estate deal. I promise you, if you slow down a little bit, there's probably 5 or 6 other milestones that you could identify that are just as powerful as closing. Closing is the culmination. Going from 50 to number 1, right? Like learning to use setbacks as wake-up calls for systems and culture shifts. And then one size fits one. Each client you have is an individual, and you want to tailor the experience to the individual. I'm very guilty of sliding right into a system, treating everybody the same way and feeling like, hey, the system's good. But you miss a lot of opportunities by doing it that way.
Okay.
Before we jump into this, I'll share one more story. When we flew out there, my wife and I went. We went 2 days business. She got to kind of like lay low, and then we kind of took some kid-free time for a couple of days in San Diego after that. Unfortunately, when we flew out, we flew from here to Denver. We were supposed to fly from Denver to San Diego. The Denver to San Diego flight's a pretty quick flight. I'm a busybody, borderline OCD, so I'm not gonna, it's gonna be very hard for me to be in that closet for more than like 15 minutes before I'm trying to break out of there. And we were on the plane longer than we were supposed to be on the plane. You can check that map, right? Like they have the online map you can check, and literally we're flying around in a diamond. I'm like, okay. About that time, the pilot comes on and it's like, unfortunately, the San Diego runway's been shut down. Private plane landed. When they landed, their landing gear exploded. They're literally like crashed on the runway right now. So far, 105 flights are backed up. We're leaving y'all where you are. And instead of going into San Diego, you guys are going to fly into Vegas. I was pretty stoked about that. I'm not going to lie. My wife was like not so stoked. But we stayed the night in Vegas. They booked our flight to get out of there early the next morning. And I got to the Hilton. And I'm a little frazzled because at this point, the conference has already started. Like I'm already halfway through the first session and I haven't even showered or changed clothes yet. Go to the front desk at the Hilton and we're talking to, I don't know what the title is, the general clerk. Super uncooperative. So you go and learn about hospitality after that. They had given my room away. I tried to call for like an hour straight the night before. There was an influx of calls to the Hilton, and we didn't get through. So because I didn't check in at the proper time, regardless of what they had on file or anything, they gave my room away. So me and Jen are in the lobby, bunch of clothes on we've had on for 36 hours. And I'm like, hey, I'm not that type of guy, but I need to talk to whoever you report to. And she came out and she was even meaner than the clerk was. And I was just trying to get her to explain to me how you could get stranded in the air from something that happened at the airport, and on our end, we didn't do anything wrong. We try to roll with the punches and stuff like that. Her response to me was, that's not our problem. It's like, okay. My wife, who's sometimes better than me in tense situations, said, well, look, I've got some stuff booked at the spa this afternoon. What if we went down there and talked to them just to see if they'd let you shower? Maybe they can provide some relief. The ladies at the front desk were pretty much like, good luck. Like, all right, well, hate you, have a terrible day. We go down to the spa and we have the experience, and I tell you this for a reason, because it matters. We have the experience that we hoped for at the front desk at the spa. These two ladies who probably are pretty low on the totem pole at the Hilton are like, that sounds horrible. If we were in your shoes, we would hope these things could happen. They took our luggage, they put it in their office. Their office literally was like this size. So half of their office now is our luggage. They let Jen stay at the spa the whole day, which they had already extracted plenty of money for us for that. So like, that's okay. They let me get showered up. They didn't rush me. They even bought me like a bottle of water while I was in there. And then I went and listened to Will about hospitality, and I'm like, that's it. That's the difference maker. Your attitude is the difference maker. What you're willing to do for somebody is a difference maker. I complained to the end of the earth about the people at the front desk, but I also sung the praises of the people in the spa. Because at the end of the day, we gripe and complain about the stuff that goes wrong all the time, but we just don't want to give attaboys. So the advice for that long story is, don't be the people at the front desk. Be the people at the spa, because you guys are the gatekeepers at the end of the day. The second person I listened to was Craig Rochelle. Anybody ever heard of Craig Rochelle before? Founder of Life Church, pretty big church, might have heard of it. His whole thing was about limiting beliefs. And the first thing he said is that your body can do more than your mind understands. He told a story about hanging with a Navy SEAL at the swimming pool one day with his family and like kind of having a meathead moment where the dude literally out of the blue is like, bet you can't hold your breath for a minute. And he's like, I'm an athlete, challenge accepted. Like, I guarantee you I can. And he does it. He goes underwater and he describes it. 30 seconds, no problem. 45 seconds, like, hey, wait a minute, a little tight. And by the time he comes out at 60 seconds, he's like, I did it. But he felt like he had no more to give. And the guy's like, I mean, that's pretty good, but do you know you can hold your breath for like over 2 minutes? And he's like, I just almost died trying for 1 minute. I can't fathom what would take me to 2 minutes. He's like, well, are you willing to listen to me and just try something? He's like, if you think that I can hold my breath for more than 2 minutes, dude, I'll listen to you. He's like, all right, well, first things first. I want you to hyperventilate. I want you to take 3 or 4 deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. You were like flailing around and you look really silly when you were underwater. I want you to try to keep yourself still if you can. And then I'm going to talk loud enough for you to hear me. Every time I tell you to exhale, I want you to let a little bit of breath out of your body. It's going to trick your lungs into thinking that you're coming up for air. It's going to buy you a little bit more time. When you start to feel pain again, I want you to find something in the water, even if it's a bubble. I want you to find something to focus on as long as you can. And so he says he does it, and he goes down. The guy's counting. He's like, okay, 30 seconds, 45 seconds. And you're like, let some air out. A minute, let some air out. Minute 15, find that bubble or whatever it is. And then he gets close to 2 minutes, and same thing. He pops out of the water. He's like, I had no idea I could do that. He was like, you think that you held your breath for 2 minutes. He's like, dude, you held your breath for like 2 minutes and 45 seconds. He's like, your body can do so much more than your mind thinks you can. You just have to have a plan, and you have to have support. If anybody does that after this and you hold your breath for 2 minutes and 45 seconds, holler at me, because that is very impressive. I tried. I disagree with them. But ultimately, instead of doing things differently, sometimes all we have to do is think differently. And he talks a lot about the 5 core beliefs. I'll have you do something with it when we're done, and I'm going to try to blow through these relatively quickly. The first core belief is changing what you believe is possible. Because if you think you can't, you'll prove that you can't. And disorientation can be a gift. Changing what you believe is possible is the first core belief. The second is change how you empower others to grow. Growth comes from doing, from being in the game. He talks about a story of how they went on one of their Life Church campuses. They were trying to go from 6 services to 7 services. And for months on end, they were losing money. They were gassing out, he said. One of his teammates came to him and was like, hey, I think I got an idea on going from 6 to 8 instead of 6 to 7. And he's like, how in the hell are we going to go from 6 to 8 when we're terrible at going from 6 to 7? Almost dismissing it as a terrible idea. The guy pushes it, though. He's like, hey, look, I just want you to hear my plan. Well, the plan is when you have 2 church services, you have 2 sets of volunteers. So when you have one, these people feel like they just volunteer and they can't actually go to church. And I'm like, bro, well, no offense. The primary reason I came here was to worship God. I don't mind serving, though. 2 services gives you an army for offsetting services. As soon as he understood that, he's like, we went from 6 to 8 to 10 to 12. Now obviously the largest organization in the company. And in terms of the next, it's changing how you create systems. Who's been to Chick-fil-A? Awesome. Who's been to Popeyes? Popeyes not bad, I'm just saying. Any difference between Chick-fil-A and Popeyes?
Yeah, service.
100%.
Real slow.
What do they say? What do they say at Chick-fil-A?
My pleasure.
My pleasure. You're like, whatever it is, blah, 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 blah. You're like, you suck. I hate you. And they're like, my pleasure. Like, the customer's never wrong. At Popeyes, and Levs and I talked about this the other day, Craig says that at Popeyes, once upon a time, they always had like a sweet old lady there. And like the sweet old lady was almost like a trademark of Popeyes. Like, what you want, baby? You know, like that type of thing. Over the years, though, they relaxed and relaxed and relaxed their standards, where a lot of times you'll still go in there and there'll be an old lady in there, but she ain't making biscuits. She's cussing. She's taking her sweet time. She is not giving a high level of service. Well, when you look at the success of one organization and you look at the success of the others, it's like, okay, well, we know why Chick-fil-A is successful. We also know why Popeyes isn't, because they let the old lady change. The next is change how you think about scaling. And when you think about scaling as it relates to your business, what are the drivers of your business? Where does your business come from now? Are those things scalable? What 3 things do you need to do to grow? Next core belief, change what you believe about yourself. Project with faith, not pessimism into the future, right? Like, we have the power to do either. And ultimately, like, your life is not a daytime soap opera. If you're advertising the latest episode of your life's soap opera every single day, it was never meant to be that way. Your life is supposed to be a success story. It's supposed to be like the pursuit of happiness, right? Adversity, 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 triumph. A little bit of happiness. You know, adversity, 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 triumph. Not every day like, let me tell you on today's episode what happened today in my life. It's like, nah, man. Like, how is that going to get you where you want to go? The last thing that he said resonated with me. And his tagline is, quit whining. You're sharp. Fix it. Quit whining. You're sharp. Fix it. What I want you to do with the 5 core beliefs, and you don't have to do it right now, but I would beg you, please do this. Carve out 30 minutes or an hour of your personal time and dig into this. I'm grateful to teach this class because it forced me to do that with the leadership conference overall, knowing I would come and talk to you today. I had to go back through the material. I had to sharpen up, right? You can do that when you leave. I want you to pick the 5 core belief that speaks to you the most. And I'll tell you, for me, it was weird. It made me kind of sad. Like, in my life, I have always worn it like a badge of honor. And it is. My life is better than I thought it would be at this point. Like, if you went back and you talked to 16-year-old Larry, that guy would have been like, that's what life's going to be like? Like, let's go. That in itself, though, can be a limiting belief. And I never thought about it that way until I went to the conference, where it's like, okay, too much gratitude about where you're at leaves, can cap you in terms of where you're going next, right? And I'm not young, I'm not old, I'm 44. I better be going somewhere next. Like, at 44, this better not be all there is in life, right? But I think to do that, I have to change what I believe about myself, right? Instead of life being better than I ever thought it would be, maybe we need to just shift to like, life's great, what's next? You know what I mean? A simple mindset shift. All right. I hope that y'all get a lot out of this. But the key part here is we're going to talk about what the difference is between always doing your best and trying to be at your best. Finding efficiencies to create a profit-first plan to increase your effectiveness. Doing your best, this is tricky, and it took me a little while to kind of understand it. Doing your best is not a bad thing. It is not a bad thing. It's also not sustainable for your entire life. It will only burn you out. And so doing your best, right? Like, we've always been told, included in doing your best, you've got your values, you've got your principles, and you got your motivation. Your values, right? Those are the principles and your standards of behavior, our judgment of what's important in life. And I think as we grow and mature, the answers to those questions, they change. So under your values, right, like your priorities, where you spend time and money, and your criteria for making decisions, those are the things that ultimately kind of go into a mixing bowl to come up with your personal values.
Did everyone get that on their paper?
Your principles, though, the principles are rules or standards, but more of like a ethical nature, you know? The principles, like, what are you not willing to accept? What are you willing to fight for? And what do you want to be known for? And fast tracking to the motivation, right? Like, these are the psychological and emotional factors that inspire our actions towards a goal, like the fuel, if you will. They're your intrinsic sources of drive, the things that come from within. Now, this is all my opinion. This is not like a model. This didn't even come from anybody at the conference. But I feel like principles, values, and motivation are three sides of a square, effort being the fourth side. With a continuous loop of those four, I think inevitably it's going to lead to burnout if you never look through the telescope. Doing your best very much has you looking through the microscope every day. I need to do my best today. I need to do these things. At least at the conference, they said that inevitably that's going to lead you to burnout versus figuring out what it looks like to be at your best. Bump 2 slides. I'm not going to do the internal, external slide. That's all right. So, yeah. So he segued, I never heard it this way. He segued it into being at your best. Being at your best often leads to doing your best. But being at your best in itself it's a verb. It's action related. So it involves you physically doing a lot of stuff. And the first is elevating your associations. We all hate to admit it, right? Like, the most fun people to hang out in the world are probably the most fun people to hang out in the world. My experience says that the most fun people in the world are rarely the most organized people in the world also. They don't necessarily always go hand in hand. So if organization is my goal, I probably need to upgrade some of my associations with regard to that. The second one is creating a new vision for yourself, like where you want to go. It's okay. It's okay if your plan looked absolutely wonky to someone else. It's not theirs, it's yours. But from there, and I am living proof of this, like you have to recommit to daily disciplines. So we took a little bit of a step back, right? Took a look through the telescope. Now we can magnify it. We can start looking through the microscope again. Okay, are these daily disciplines optimal for me? Do I need to make some adjustments? Am I doing anything with these associations that I've elevated, right? There's opportunities for growth. There's an exercise coming up too with regard to elevating your associations. I'm doing something similar in my men's group right now. But the first in terms of elevating your associations is, who do you admire? I'm not talking even in real estate. I'm just talking about like in life. Like, I have a deep admiration for my brother-in-law. He's like a really, really serious guy. He got forced into retirement, and I've watched him get grumpier. My admiration for him is that he's showing me a perfect vantage point in life of what I don't want to become. And I held him in such high esteem. I saw a critical change in his life, and I saw what it did to him. I'm very aware of what that could do to me if I end up going down the same road, right? What do you admire about them? I guess I just told you what I admire about him. And what do they do differently than you? Right? Like we love to talk about what people are doing or what we speculate people are doing, do a little social media stalking, write a story based on 2 sentences, you know what I mean? But I'd say FAFO, find out. Next part, create a new vision for yourself. Who is doing what's a possibility for you? Sometimes it's very important to compare apples and apples. It's okay to want the successes of a realtor that's been in the business for 20 years, but do your actions and daily rituals align at all with what that person's doing? Or do you just want what they have? Either's okay, but I think you need to know the real answer to that. What have you done already that would be useful in that arena? And then the last one, I have no idea what it means, but it's wave the magic wand. So y'all figure out how to wave the magic wand, like holler at me, let me know. I did not pick up that tip from the leadership conference. Last one is recommitting to daily disciplines. Your physical capacity, your emotional capacity, and reprioritizing your schedule. Not that we're all trying to be leaders, but whether you like it or not, you're a guide, you're a leader for your clients. And at the end of the day, if you're trying to do everything on your own, you're not a leader. We have office ACS, we have sales managers, you have support. Sometimes if you don't lean on that support or ask, people don't know to give you help, but help is typically there for people who ask for it. And you may not believe it, but Parker where he sits, Jake where he sits, Benjamin where he sits, all three of them have people that they can lean on if they need something. They don't have to do everything themselves. And you got three agents that probably couldn't be any different than one another in terms of time in the business and all that good stuff. So these are the questions you ask yourself. Not right now, again, while we're out of here. Your principle is to live by. What am I not willing to accept? What am I willing to fight for? What do I want to be known for? And what are the daily disciplines that I need to recommit to? And then I think maybe waving the wand is writing out that plan and starting to stick to it. All right, I thought this was pretty cool. I know Kev's a big history guy. I'm not. If you ask me about historical facts, honestly, I'm probably going to call Kev, and then act like I knew it the whole time. But the flying gas can, it's pretty cool. Ultimately, we're talking about Charles Lindbergh, 1972. He wanted to have the first solo non-stop flight across the transatlantic. Plane's called Spirit of St. Louis. The reason we talked about all this is because it's like hanging in the Midway Museum in San Diego, like 2 doors down from where we were. It had never been done before. Obviously, anything that has never been done before, people are like, hey, it's never been done before. How are we going to do it this time? Well, what they realized they needed to do is lighten the load so that they could go further, faster. His airplane was heavily modified to maximize fuel capacity. The mission was almost entirely about carrying just enough fuel and no more weight than necessary so he could make the crossing. The main fuel tank was put in the cockpit, which honestly, like the normal visibility you'd have in an airplane, he had maybe like 40% of it at that point because he's got like the engine. But ultimately, it balanced the weight, it made the flight easier and all that stuff. So it's essentially you're talking about a flying gas can. Carry fuel, get Lindbergh across the Atlantic, everything else is stripped away. I'm talking no radio, no parachute, and then minimal extra equipment. So, and obviously Charles Lindbergh did it or it wouldn't be in the museum and all that stuff, yay. For us though, the flying gas can analogy, I think we're at a perfect part in the year to do that for our businesses, right? You got a bunch of stuff in your plane right now, and maybe it needs to be there, or maybe it's weighing you down. Maybe you could go further if you lighten your load a little bit. Maybe you'd go faster if you lighten your load a little bit. But when you load your plane with just enough fuel, being resources, energy, and capital, and you cut out the unnecessary baggage, you can fly further more efficiently with a hell of a lot more purpose and achieve things that people maybe told you were impossible. So the flying gas can, right? Find your efficiencies. What are you good at? What are you good at already? Like, I don't care a lick about being on the phone. I love being in front of people. I'll write notes until my hand falls off. Like, whatever it is. What are your efficiencies? Then you need to create a profit-first plan. Profit-first plan means that when possible, we are minimizing expenses in every way possible. We are putting profit first, leaning this machine out. and then increase your effectiveness. And we'll dig into this a little bit more. Everybody got that? Yay. Next slide. All right, so first, finding your efficiencies. Analyze your expenses. Show of hands. It's fine either way. Show of hands. Who in here runs a P&L? A profit and loss statement for their business? Kev, I know. It's all right. You got one too, though. That's all that matters.
Kevin has one.
Everybody should have a P&L statement. First off, when you file taxes, it makes life easier. Second, you're self-employed. You have a ton of write-offs every month if you're running your business the right way. But it's revealing. You run a profit and loss statement every month because when you look at it weekly or monthly, you're like, man, we were not smart last month. We got to be smart this month. If you have no P&L, how do you even know that stuff? You can't log into your bank account and that be your P&L review. It should be something a little bit better than that. But from there, you need to review your processes, right? We analyze the P&L, and then we look at the processes that relate to the P&L. From there, you want to create your plan to maximize productivity. These are the things that we do the best, that cost the least and produce the most. How are we going to do more of that? And shocker, once you do that stuff, it creates capital to do more of the stuff that you want to do. The profit first plan. Step one is to reverse the formula. I'll tell you what Parkinson's law is. Step two is leverage Parkinson's law. Parkinson's law, I'll try not to butcher this, but it's essentially you're without supervision, no matter how much money you make, no matter how much income comes to you, your spending will find a way to exceed it. And personally, like I've seen this firsthand because like this describes my mom in a nutshell. Like you could give my mom 5 G's, 50 G's, 500 G's, and she is uber talented in going through that amount of money as fast as humanly possible, right? So she's very lucky to have me in charge of her finances to make sure that she doesn't do that kind of stuff. But leveraging Parkinson's law means I know that mentally I'm going to try to find a way to spend this money. So before I do, I'm going to give it a home to go to. Money market account, marketing expenses, designated marketing expenses to gain more business. These are buckets that you can put your funds in and essentially forfeit them for your business in lieu of spending them on something that'll give you no ROI whatsoever. And then you need to set up some type of account management system. Shocker. QuickBooks, I'm born in the 80s, so I'm stupid. I use literally like Excel spreadsheets, but it doesn't have to be fancy. You just got to get it done. Step three is increasing your effectiveness. We talked about this a little bit. Focus on your fundamentals. Those core acts for your business that you know if you did not do them and do them well, your business would suffer. In this case, it's a leadership seminar, so analyze your team's effectiveness. Maybe in your case, I would say just cross through team's effectiveness and analyze your effectiveness. If these are your fundamentals and you're doing them well, how effective could they be? Are you 10 out of 10? Can you take a 8 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10? And then galvanize around a campaign. What Buffini did from here is he segued this into a way to sell us something else like most of these guys do. I won't do that to you. I don't really have anything to sell you today. But I will tell you that October 1, I don't know a better time to whip up a campaign. What's going to happen over the next few months is people are going to fall into the lull of averages. And I don't want any of y'all to be average. But the lull of averages over the next few months is, well, Halloween's coming up. Well, I mean, Thanksgiving's right after Halloween. And then we got Christmas after that. And we gotta go Christmas shopping. We gotta get like a turkey for Thanksgiving. These are things people have been doing for thousands of years with no problem at all, with a lot less resources than we have. But do we think about our businesses with that level of intention during the holidays? Despite the fact that we're presented a golden opportunity on a platter where it's the one quarter of the year where people are willing to be social, a little bit jovial because gift season is coming, it's a perfect opportunity. So what I'd like you guys to do is identify what your campaign is going to be. Will it be social events over the holidays? You can go on a note writing campaign. One of the most impressive people I know on this is Kev. Kev, like, you might not know the answer right off the top of your head, but in one sit down note writing session, I know it's at least like 50. What's the most notes you've ever written in one sit down note writing session?
I do a big St. Patrick's Day push, do like dollar lottery tickets in there, and I do that to 200 people. Same thing over and over and over again, but yeah, probably about 200.
On a scale of 1 to 10, like how exciting is that? On a scale of 1 to 10, how impactful is that?
Some people win like $5. That's pretty sweet.
They always holler back if they do
But
too.
yeah, it's a good touch. It's simple, and honestly, it takes me 2-3 hours to go through there and just knock it out. And it's like a 1 or 2 sentence card, and I'll write all 200 of them and mail them out to everybody. And then that's to me giving something to them too.
Yeah.
Without really asking much in return outside of referrals, but that's a sticker for that. On there, but yeah, so probably about 200, and then I'll sit down and do my birthday notes the first of the month. So I got a stack of them actually right here. Ethan's been good talking with them. But yeah, no, I'll sit down. I'll write 30 to 50 notes between birthdays and purchase anniversaries and stuff like that. Usually once a month, and hear them off. So I'm terrible at maximizing 2 notes a day. It's not I'm not good at that. So if I can sit down and write a bunch of them all at once.
531's great if you do it, right? For me, it a lot of times it ends up being like, 20 or 30 on a Monday. Like if you got to make your contacts, you just, get them done because you're not getting them done 5, 3, 1, as the week goes on. Kev, how many St. Patrick's Day cards did you get in the mail this year?
None.
Who got a St. Patrick's Day card in the mail this year? Sweet. Yeah, y'all walk right into that one. That's good stuff. 2 hours, 200 notes, daunting. I'm sure like if I asked you, half the people in here would be like, I do not want to do that. I'm going to ask you to get past what you want to do, and I'm going to ask you to fill in a blank with something to do. Give half of your time over the next few months to the holidays, to the season and all of that stuff, but just as intentionally, give the other half to your business. And if you do, you won't have to worry about anything first quarter of next year. You get to be different. You get to gain market share. You get to create advocates that are going to talk about you over the holidays while they're out with their families and friends in a much more social capacity than they're going to be in January and February. I promise you. But with your time, if you're not making a sacrifice and doing something great like writing 200 notes in 2 hours, which doesn't sound fun, you won't see the impact on the other side. And I think the impact, what I learned in California was the impact is actually the fuel that helps us keep going. When you know you matter, when you know your actions matter, when you're feeling some gratitude, it's fuel to keep going. So, fill those planes up, man. Lighten your loads, throw the seats out, put the engine in the front seat, whatever the hell you need to do, right? But let's get efficient. Let's see how far we can fly and where the plane lands when the time comes. Appreciate y'all's time.
Good job, Larry. Very good.